Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about the 360 bearing handles from Bulletproof Fitness. So let's go ahead and talk about them. Now first things first, when they arrive, they are in pretty darn good condition. The packaging is very well done and you're not going to have to worry about them probably getting damaged in transit. I had no issues. So I was pretty optimistic when I received them. So guys, what comes in the package is you're going to have these stoppers. I want to call them stoppers because basically you screw them in the end over here and it prevents these handles from going past the point of the VTS clamps. And then you're also going to have the pop pin, which is going to be non-assembled. So all you have to do is screw that bad boy in. And then you have these weird little clamps. I don't use the clamps because there's only about 2.5 inches of space right here. So if I put the clamp on there, I feel like if I do want to make any adjustments, it's kind of pointless to have that on there. One of the things that I want to point out is if you guys pre-ordered these and you saw them the first time, they did have a telescoping handle. Somewhere down the line, they decided to change this design because it doesn't allow a lot of weight to be used. So instead of having a telescoping design, now it's a solid welded on shaft. That means you're going to be able to use a hell of a lot more weight compared to the telescoping feature. I just wish that they would have notified me ahead of time instead of me opening up the box and surprise, where's my telescoping feature? And guys, without that telescoping feature, you're not going to have a lot of room to play around with when it comes to adjustments. You only have about 2.5 inches where you can move this back and forth in your VTS clamps. Larry already says that he's working on a fix for it. He already said that, he messed up and he should have notified everybody. So they're working on a fix and they're going to send that out to anybody who bought these handles that requests them. All right, so as the name suggests, there are bearings inside these handles. You have 6 different grip variations that you can choose from. So you got 1 all the way through 6. So you can go from neutral grip, semi-supinated, semi-pronated, which is kind of cool because if you have shoulder issues like me, changing your grip variation is actually going to help alleviate some pain. But also you have the option of being able to pull this pin, put it on the top and get it out of that slot, and now it can basically rotate freely. So you can see I'm doing that with one finger. Super smooth, crazy smooth. So I was very, very excited. Well, and then I ended up putting on the other one. And when I put on the other one, unfortunately, I found out that it wasn't very smooth. So we'll put that one down, and now I'm going to show you guys this one. So with one finger, it's very hard to move. Now, if you do change the variation, so if it's up, either facing up or facing down, you do get a little bit better when it comes to the rotation. See, that's a lot smoother since it's facing down now. But now when I bring it up, it binds. There's certain parts of this thing that completely binds. And due to the way the design is, there's really nothing I can do about it. So I did take the cover off and I looked inside and I didn't see any debris or anything like that. But you can see all the bearings around and you can see the handle inside and it's compressed. So there's really nothing that I physically can do. I did contact Bulletproof. They are going to send me a new pair of handles. I'm looking forward to that. But one more issue decided to pop up. So while I was testing, I got these November 7th, by the way, so I haven't had them very long. That's why this is more of a first impressions video. But while I was testing, the powder coating decided to peel off on me. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that. So I do know some people that when it comes down to making equipment, and they said either the powder coating was poor or the metal prep was done incorrectly. And it just doesn't allow the powder coating to adhere to the metal, and that's why it's peeling. Unfortunately, I don't know if the new ones, when they replace them, are going to have the same issue. Now, obviously, if this powder coating continues to keep chipping away and peeling off, this is going to cause an issue when it comes to cosmetics. You're going to have powder coating all over your floor. But functionality wise, it's not going to really affect me because I don't really use the VTS hooks all that much. And the reason why is they're 5/8 holes on my rack. And yes, the hooks work for 5/8 holes, but I always find myself kind of smacking into the rack and just kind of dragging it down and playing around blindly trying to get this stupid hole to line up and get the hook to go in. I'm basically smacking into my rack, and usually when I end up racking it, I'm off. I either have one up a little bit too high or one up a little bit lower. And so I end up using the plate coasters for basically how I do my exercise. I just pick the range of motion where I want them to be. I put them on here, and then I just do my exercise based off of that. So testing purposes, I did use the hooks, and the hooks were working very well until I used them too much. And then during my workout, unfortunately, somehow it shifted over to the side a little bit. And when I went to rack the weight, I was not able to rack the weight. So I did have the plate coasters on here, so I was just able to set the weight down, which was not a big deal. But if you are using these things and you don't have any safeties, I do recommend at least at the minimum using something like a hitch pin, or you could possibly get injured if you don't have, something for safety. So overall, I mean, these things, they are quite beefy. So 22.5 pounds is roughly what these things weigh, 24 pounds. This one weighs exactly 22.5. So if you take that into consideration with the VTS, you're looking at 54 pounds starting weight, 55 pounds. Now, if you take off the weight sleeve, you're gonna get this down to 50 pounds for starting weight. But still, that's a lot of weight for starting. So depending on where you are in your fitness journey, whether or not you're beginner, intermediate, that might be too much weight for you. Larry is working on some type of tool balancer, which he has not released yet, but I know you can go on Amazon. I can go ahead and put a link for you guys. And there is tool balancers out there. I have not used them, but I know in the group that people have used them and they do like them. Maybe eventually I'll consider it so then my girlfriend can actually use these things, because 50 pounds is just too much dang weight. But that is something that I want to mention. So overall, guys, when it comes down to it, what exercises can you do? Well, anything that you can do with a Smith machine, you can pretty much do with these. The only difference is you can change the grip variation. So now instead of being a straight bar, you can change this thing to either be neutral, semi-supinated, pronated. But one of the things I want to point out, since this thing does go in the shaft, the clamps that rotate, depending on how tight you have these clamps, this thing is going to move ever so slightly. So now when you're doing your exercise, you're gonna have to have a lot more wrist stability when you're doing your exercise, and especially something like rows. When I was doing my rows, I was finding that I was basically almost sliding when it came to this, because the thing was shifting on me. The knurling is not super great. It's more passive than anything, but unfortunately it's just not aggressive enough to be what I would consider optimal. But when you're doing your exercise, you do feel it when you're trying to sit there and do your pressing. You have to really stabilize your wrist. If you're using something like wrist wraps, then it's probably not that big of a deal. But I do want to point that out because I noticed that almost instantly when I started using these handles. And it did take some time to get used to it, but that is something that I want to mention because it's important, because this thing is relatively large right here where the bearings are. So you're obviously going to have a weight difference where this is going to be a lot harder to keep perfectly straight compared to something like a straight barbell. So overall, guys, what do I think when it comes down to my opinion? Because this is overall my opinion. Granted, yes, I've had some issues. I personally would wait if you really don't need this feature where it's the 360-degree bearing rotation, so where it rotates while you're doing your exercise. I would wait, honestly, for the ones that are more fixed. So the fact is, these are really heavy because of the huge thrust bearings inside of them. But he says that he's going to make a pair of handles that are more fixed position. that are not going to rotate freely, which to me that would be perfect actually. They're going to be a lot lighter and then they're going to cost a lot less. These things are $489 plus shipping and taxes. That is a lot of money for basically some handles. So overall, I feel like if you're in the market for these, I would probably wait. I would definitely wait because there's some fixes that need to be done. I'm not sure how big of an issue this powder coating is, if it's just mine or if it's others. But I also would wait because there's some fixes coming out. So the fix for being able to make sure the hooks don't sit there and shift on you while you're doing your exercise, the telescoping option where he's making the fix where it's going to be like a pipe that sits inside and you can tighten it down. That's going to be something that I would wait for because I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work or whether it's going to work very well. Somebody in the Facebook group kind of created one for their own and it does look like it's going to work, but again, I would wait because again, you're looking at $600 between shipping and taxes and that is a lot of money. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I do have a bulletproof affiliate link in the description below. So if you guys do make any purchases using that link, I will get a small kickback. So if you found this video helpful, I would appreciate if you guys do decide to make a purchase if you use that link. Otherwise, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop me a comment. Make sure you guys hit the like button to help with the algorithm to get this video out. And make sure you guys are subscribed so you don't miss any future content. Otherwise, I hope you guys all have a wonderful day and take care.